Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of The Healing Home. I'm your host, Michelle. And today I'm very pleased and excited to have my friend Andee Crone with us. So, I recently, well, not recently, but I've been getting to know Andee over maybe the past year or so. And she is somebody that I find very special and who has a lot of gifts to share. And she had a really great conversation with Davin, maybe like a few months ago, I think, on his show Chironversations. And they talked a lot about what Andee does and as a medium and as an artist and how she was able to, learn more about her ancestors and then in turn learn more about herself. And so after hearing that conversation with Davin that she had, I really was just more intrigued to learn more about her. I felt like she really opened up in a really great way. And I was just really excited to continue our conversation. And now that I have this platform, I was really excited to be able to invite her on today. So without further ado, I'd love you all to just help me in welcoming Andee Crone to the show.
Hi, guys.
Happy Tuesday. How's it going?
Oh, good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
well fed today.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wintertime's good for that. I've been feeling pretty well fed myself lately. So yes, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. How's the weather where you're at?
It's been like unseasonably warm for like the past 3 weeks, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because you're in Minnesota, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you guys were having a lot of like really cold weather for a little bit there.
Yeah, it was like, and it wasn't even as cold as it does get, so I was like, well, at least the whole time I'm just like, at least it's not this.
Nice. Right on. So I wanted to give you an opportunity just to introduce yourself to people who may not know you. There's probably a lot of people that'll be listening who have like seen you talk before on certain shows. But if you wouldn't mind just giving a little rundown about yourself and anything that you wanted to share just to get us started off.
Oh, sure. So I do art. I guess some people could say I'm a medium. That's one label to put on it, I guess. I'm kind of where I'm like, because everybody I think can do it to an extent or whatever. So I'm like, I don't want to be like, I'm not special or anything. Like, I think everybody can do, like, I'm special, but I'm like, this is a universal thing that people can do. Like, even if it's just like just your own family or something that you can get in touch with on the other side and get messages that you need from them or whatever. I don't really know what else. I'm from Minnesota, as we said. I'm a mom. That's all I got.
Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, no, I feel you on that, and when I, because I was using the term mediumship, and then, kinda came to my attention too that some people might not even know what mediumship is, and some people don't even know what medium means because there's a lot of times it can get confused with, like, a psychic, or there's all these different kinds of terms, and I
Yeah.
totally agree with you, like, I feel like we all do have these gifts. I just think some of us have the gifts more accessible to us throughout our lives, or we maybe get like a hint at some point in our life and then we follow that path, and then it opens up a little bit more for us and stuff like that. So I feel that when people like yourself who feel it and they go with it, it's like a muscle, it's just like of anything. You're practicing and you practice it and it becomes stronger and stronger over time. At least from my own personal experience, more with like working with plants, but I think the whole idea of a medium is really interesting, and the difference between something like, say, a psychic who will say that they can like see the future or there's premonitions or whatever, which I think that probably goes along with being a medium, but it's more about communicating with the dead, correct?
Yeah, it's more like a present moment thing, or sometimes I'll get, like, I guess when I was in training, one of the things is like some people or some spirits, I guess they're still people, whatever, will show me like kind of how they died to or they'll show anybody. I mean, not anybody, but whoever is they're trying to contact. We'll put it that way. Like, yeah, so they'll show me like how they passed in order to confirm that it's them, or to the other person. And there's a big thing in like that kind of spirit world work where it's people will lead you into a confirmation or something like that. Like, if I am going to read specifically for somebody, instead of like just getting a message in, I don't want any information about that person. I don't need to know their name, or because it might not even be that person trying to come through. It might be somebody, in a link, a chain to that person or whatever. Like, it could be your aunt, but who you want to talk to is your grandpa or something like that. So, but it's just kind of strange how it works.
Yeah, it seems like it's one of those things too, it's, like, hard to describe probably, maybe
Yeah.
even a little bit because I think this is one of the things you said, during Davin's interview, but, like, it can come through in different ways for different people, and so, what way do you find that it comes through strongest for you? Like, is it more I know I remember the answer that you said, but for people that maybe didn't listen to that interview.
Mine is more like feeling, like, yeah, feeling. So it's clairsentience. I think that's what they call it. Or is that, I don't know, but it's feeling, whatever that clair is. And like, it's kind of like cognizant, claircognizance. So it's like a thought, but it's not my own thought. Like, I'll be like in the middle of doing something totally different, and I'll get this random thought about ice skating or something, and it's the middle of summer, and I'm not even anywhere near skates or something. So it would be like, I don't know why I went to that, but maybe there's something with that.
Yeah, no, right on. So when in your lifetime, did you start to realize that you kind of were getting these hits? Was it when you were young, or was it after a certain event that happened to you?
So yeah, I had a little bit of a UFO event, and then kind of after that, it's when I started to question things more. So I would sometimes I would think my mom was calling me from the other room, and I'm sure other people have experienced this too because it's pretty common. But it's like, and then I'd go out there and they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" Like, so I'd get like, and be like, "What? Well, then what was that?" And so when it first came through and I was started to recognize it, it really came through. I did have clairaudience, but I didn't want that because it freaked me out. So that I just kind of like prayed that it wouldn't be like that anymore. So, and that helped.
So was it when you were younger, or was it so it was when you were waking up. So were you like totally in your adulthood by then, or was it more of a
No, yeah, I was like 12.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay. That's awesome.
yeah.
And so you have a daughter, correct?
Yeah.
Does she ever, like, say she gets any feelings or anything like that? I know children typically will kind of sometimes have things like that going on, but I think
Um,
people like yourself who have children sometimes may even have it stronger.
Yeah, she had an imaginary friend for a while. I don't know what happened to her. But so I wonder, like, as she gets older, like, what will happen. Sometimes she'll say just like really profound things, and I'll be like, or like it's things that seem very profound. Like one day she said, "God is a nudist," and I was like, "Oh, okay. I'm sure he is, or her, or whoever.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I really loved about your other conversation too was you talking about when you got interested in finding out who your ancestors were. And so can you talk a little bit about your journey to doing that and what you found, and was it pleasurable? Was it taxing? What were some of the emotions that you felt kind of came up when you were discovering the history of
Oh,
your family?
for sure. So my grandpa on my mom's side had passed away, and he had started doing the genealogy, and he didn't have like he had the internet, but he was like 70, and it was like 2010 or whatever, and so he didn't know how to like use the internet for that kind of thing really. And so I had a little bit of a start there, and like my dad's side of the family is pretty easy because they just always say who everybody is. So I started kind of from there because I was like, well, I want to do this nice thing, keep it going for my grandpa because we were really close. And I traced all the way back to the 1500s. I was really surprised that I could get back that far. My on my grandma's side, on my mom's side, so my maternal grandma, I couldn't get back as far. Like I think I kind of got around like the New York area when they like first came over or whoever. But then there got to be where there was like no last names, and I still haven't tried to look farther into that, but that was really cool. And this was all on like Ancestry. This is not sponsored or anything, but so it's pretty easy to use. Um, you just gotta make sure to cancel your subscription if you don't need it anymore. That was the most taxing part, I think, is dealing with their customer service. But yeah, and then I went through my dad's side and went all the way around the same time to Finland and Norway. And when I first started researching it, like how old was I? Maybe like 24 or something like that. Um, when it said that, like someone on so it'd be my paternal grandfather's side, came over from Oslo, Sweden, and I was like, what? And then that kind of opened up the whole. Oh yeah, the 17th of May is Norwegian Independence Day, and I kind of forgot about that because I used to kind of like remind people of that when I was in high school and stuff. So I was like, oh, I forgot all about that. And so that was really fun to learn about. And then I kind of was trying to figure out like what would have been like our religions or whatever, our belief system before, you know, the Christianity moved into the area. And not that I don't agree with some Christianity, but I can see how it's been used through the years, and I'm like, that's a whole big thing too.
Oh yeah, it like stripped away. I mean, so much. It's kind of crazy, and it's still happening. There's a huge program against us wanting to even like deeply connect with where we come from and the seasons and all of it. And I think that it kind of all goes along with the reason why Christianity came in the way it did, and it is like this iron hammer almost sort of thing that just like squashed a lot of the great traditions that our ancestors have. And so that's why I think like having stories like of yourself who actually were able to go back, like going back to the 1500s, that's awesome. That's like really cool that actually ancestry even allows you to go back that far.
Yeah, I'm surprised that there was records. Because once you start, like, especially in like the Norse and Baltic regions, or I'm not really even sure, like, because Finland, I kind of looked into that. I was like, well, is it Norse? Because it feels like I felt like at some point I heard that it's like not actually Norse. So then I was like, well, is it Norse? And I looked into it more, and it's not part really of the Norse countries, but it's not part of the Baltic countries really. So it's just kind of like its own area, like Finland and Karelia, and I think it's Estonia that's in with that. But there's not really even a name for the region, but so that I could find anyway when I was looking into it. And um so I thought that was kind of interesting because people always, I feel like it's often lumped into the Nordic countries, but it's it's in the same kind of area, but it's actually not
Cool.
considered to them.
Right, yeah. Well, and I think a lot of things get lumped in, it'll be like Northern European or whatever, and then
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to everybody has their, like, special place, and so and I guess it's all in how you see it. But, did you find out I think it was that you found out something specific about some of the women in your line that did they also have, were they working with, like this sort of work too as like more of mediums or community medicine women or anything like that?
I'm not sure about specifically in my line, but like so in the Finnish traditions, um, and like it'd be like the Sami tradition because we're both of the towns that I could trace back to were right on the border of the Sami where the Sami are now. So way their ancient tradition would be to have the women were the medicine people, and they were the shamans, or however you want to put that, and they would do drumming. They would and at the bonfires they would put in henbane seeds. So I was so excited when you brought up henbane, and what was it with Kyle on Vibrant? Yeah,
Yeah.
with the nightshades, and I was like, yeah. So they would throw that in, and that would cause their visions and stuff like that. So it seemed pretty sweet.
Wow, that's awesome. That kind of leads me to another question I had for you because I do know that you are a lover of plants and of nature and stuff too. And so I was wondering if there are any specific herbs that you like to work with when you're doing, when you're trying to tap in, or if somebody asks you, hey, can you contact or maybe get messages for me or whatever, or for yourself, do you have like a series of plants that you work with, or do you have any kind of rituals that you like to do to get yourself ready?
Yeah, so I work with lots of different plants and like essential oils if I can't really get the plant or the resin or whatever. Um, so, and I'm really into protection, like energy protection type herbs. And as far as like, I guess like journeying or whatever, I like to use mugwort, of course, which I know you're super fan of, and yarrow, which is, and they are both herbs that were used. Um, I had used mugwort previously, but I didn't actually use yarrow until after I found out that it was used traditionally in the Finnish area and this by the Sami and everything. So I had harvested some at one point just from the wild, and like I just kind of like let it. I didn't do anything with it, so I just like recycled it or whatever. And because I didn't know it, really what I was using it for, I was like, I feel like this is something, so I'm gonna try it. And but then later is when I found out that it's like used for divination. You can use it to help your divination and stuff like that. And I like mugwort for dreams. I also like lemongrass for dreams. Lemongrass, lavender, and mugwort all together in like a dream sachet is really awesome. So, yeah. I do have a little list that I found a few days before you even talked to me about doing this show. And it's protection herbs that I wrote down. And so another thing that's really huge in like Norse and Finnish culture is birch trees. And you were talking about that another day too. And that is protective of your psychic abilities. So if you feel like you're getting like psychic attacks, like birch is really good.
I like that. Yeah, that's awesome. All
Yeah.
checks out with me. I'm into it. I know. I love the protective herbs too. And I mean, I burn mugwort before each show because I feel like she brings in not only the protection, but it's like there's such a deep wisdom there. And I feel like the crone, she's not really afraid to show you things. And I think that that's one of the reasons why mugwort is so wonderful for not only dreams, but like doing work you're doing, or even just meditation or something where you're wanting to really stand in your integrity and bring in wisdom. I think like mugwort is one of the best herbs that you can select, and there's obviously other ones, but yeah, I really like yarrow too, because yarrow can be really protective on like a psychic level as well. And that's, I always remember learning about that, like using it as an essence, and it can be very protective, which makes sense because even on like a physical level, it's really protective. Like as a wound wart, it's like really great for healing wounds and stopping bleeding and things like that. So it makes sense that it would transfer over. And I think a lot of these herbs work that way, where they have, if they're protective herbs, they're usually like protective on multiple levels, which I think is really beautiful about them. And just kind of like always shines more light on how valuable they are in our lives, really, because they have so many uses.
Oh, for sure. And not even just because now they'll have like, oh, it helps with like mental health things or whatever. And I always thought like, oh, when I first was kind of looking into like the more magical properties of stuff, and I found out that like not, and then also the healing side of herbs like a garlic. They're like, oh, it's all this like anti-parasitic and blah blah blah, and then it's like use it against vampires, and I was like, that's pretty much the same thing. Like,
Yeah, that's totally true. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a beautiful thing. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. So, well, what I was gonna say is like, I just think that like a lot of the things that like always write it off as like magic or whatever, and then now they just give it a different name, is kind of what I was noticing. So it was like, well, we could just keep doing it the same way they've always done
it. No, totally. And I think, again, like we were talking about with the Christianity thing, I think that all of this switcheroo with so many things, it really is to try and kind of keep us away from these natural tendencies that we all have to want to like be in nature or communicate with a plant or communicate with our ancestors or just learn more about the seasons or the regions that we live in. And, I can't not talk about this without even bringing up just the access we have to internet. Am I grateful for it? Of course. Look at where we are right now. I'm streaming
it.
with somebody, halfway across the country, and we're getting to do this. And there's people in the chat, and everybody's having a great time. But I also do feel like, just like with everything in life, there has to be this balance, because I think these are the types of things that really, really take us out of the exploration of our own selves and the abilities that we have, and just how powerful we are, and how powerful our surroundings are. And that's why I love the concept of the things that grow around you are typically the things that you need. And so we're all living in certain regions for reasons that are, I think, deeper than maybe just a job that you got, or whatever. I think that we might live in the regions that we're supposed to live in because there's literally plants there that would be there, even if you've moved somewhere and it's not your native land. Maybe it was your native land at some other time, maybe some other lifetime, and there's plants there that know that like you're needed and then vice versa. And so I kind of like to trip out about stuff like that because I think that there's something to it. And I think that the plants call us to certain places, even if we're not listening and we're not paying attention. But yeah, that's how I feel about it anyway.
Yeah, that's totally like, I think a lot of it is, we go really fast
Yeah.
with, yeah, the technology and everything, and everybody just trying to, make, even if you're just trying to make ends meet and you're totally fine with just having enough or whatever, it gets so busy. And I think that's part of it, where people aren't paying attention as much. But it is kind of weird how we've gotten so far away. Like, I don't even think, like, when Christianity moved into these other places, I think it was already so far away from actually what Jesus was. Like I still believe in Jesus, but like I think it was already just far away from what, and I don't think they even understood, in like the people writing the Bible understood what he was actually. So that's how I feel about that part.
No, I totally can get that. And I have to say, like, I'm not very well versed in any sort of like basically any kind of religion because I was based or I was raised basically as an atheist or not like a staunch atheist. It's not like my parents were, oh, there's nothing, believe in nothing, nothing matters or whatever. But we were never nothing was ever forced upon us, or we didn't go to church, or I wasn't told that I had to follow a certain religion. But all the things that I've learned about over the years, specifically with Christianity, kind of like feels like, yeah, it was like the propaganda. But I think you're right. I just think that even when that came in, it was probably already so far. And how are we ever gonna know? You can't. All we can do is like tap in. And I think tapping in is like the best way instead of just like believing what the Bible says as gospel or the history books or the internet or whatever. That's how I feel about that one because I know at some point I'll maybe read some of the Bible or something because I feel like there's a lot. Obviously, it's like one of the most important texts people will say, and I just want to know more of it for my own sake so I can like talk a little bit more wisely about it.
Totally. And that's totally why I read it, because I was like, well, I don't want to say I believe in something and just like some people do and just be like, but I've never read it. It's like, then how do you know? Like,
Exactly.
I don't understand that at all.
Right. No, totally. I've got Shannon in the chat wants to know. You guys think there are many ways to experience divination connection to ancestors? I've had premonition dreams, messages from those who've passed, and more all my life since 2 or 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sometimes I will get messages through dreams. Sometimes it comes to me like a song and it'll be like, "Oh, pay attention." And sometimes it will be like animals, or it just comes from like all different directions. So it's kind of like I'm not always paying attention all the time, like, but because that would be impossible. I'd be like getting too much. But like, yeah. And another thing is like, they say that if you find a dime on the ground, that's a message from a past loved one. Like if it doesn't, especially if it doesn't really even make sense, like I swear that wasn't there before or something like that. Like, and like some of my team or whatever you could say, my other side team, because it's like a bunch of people, they have started using different coins so that I can differentiate between who's who. I'm like, oh, okay, hi, like, how's it going? And yeah, it's kind of just, it's weird because it's gotten to be like, oh, you're not you never really laugh, but like it's just in a weird way that we have to communicate now. So
Yeah, right. No, that's cool. Because I feel like I've had the same things. I can't say that I would even call myself a medium, or that, I'm getting messages from uh past loved ones or anything, but I feel like I think it comes from me more with the plants, but then also, like, I feel like I'll literally hear, kind of like what you said, I'll hear like a voice or something. And I feel like a lot of times it is my voice, but yeah, I don't know. I think that there's just something to be said about our ability to listen to our own intuition and how important it is, because I think that these messages come with, for everybody. But like, I get it more of like a feeling like, my for example, one of my grandfathers is the one that really comes to me really strongly, especially on the property that we are living on now. Like, when we first moved here, I would be just like walking around and I'm like, dude, grandpa's here. Like, Grandpa Lundquist is here. I've never even met him in like my waking life. And I feel like I've met him more, or I understand him more. And I've never even gotten to talk to him. I've only seen like one or two photos of him. I've heard many stories about him. But the more and more I connect with this land specifically in this area, the stronger he comes through for me. And I swear I can like feel his presence. And I've had even like physical things, like, I had another grandfather that had passed away, and I was on a run, and I wanted to stop running, right? But I was like in the time where I was like really focused on getting in shape and losing weight and stuff. And in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna stop. And I literally could feel I felt someone on my back like pushing me, and there's nobody around me. And to this day, I know it was my grandpa like pushing me, being like, no, 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 you don't stop. You can do this. And so there's things like that that I think happen to all of us, but I think, like I said in the beginning, I think some of us, though, it's like there's a special place for some of us to be receiving these messages and sharing them with other people. And that's one of the reasons why I was so stoked to talk to you, because I know that you're one of those people. And when we meet these people, these types of people like yourself who have these gifts, I think it's like really important to share your experiences with other people, because you might then inspire somebody to then reevaluate something that happened to them, and then they're like, oh man, maybe that's what was happening. And you always have to have a balance with it. People can take this stuff and just go like all the way to the new age, and it just becomes this woo woo like crazy thing. I think that there has to be like a groundedness that comes through too. And I think that's why it's cool that you worked with the herbs, because I think herbs will do that as well. Like, they're going to bring protection, but they'll ground you in to this 3D, which is really important when you're doing this work.
yeah, totally. I could totally see how somebody would get lost in it. I want to
Mm-hmm.
say like lost in the other side. Um, where it's like, because if you're just talking to the spirits all the time, it's like, and it's funny because sometimes I'll be like doing tarot, and I'm just by myself, and I'll be like yelling at my cards and be like, what do you mean, that makes no sense? Like, so I'm like, I can totally see where people get like, where they're like on a street corner just yelling to themselves. It's like, I don't know what keeps me from going there, but
Well, you found the balance. You found that groundedness, because yeah, it's really easy to get lost in the sauce with anything. But I think specifically when we're working with these more delicate places, like traveling in the astral and all of these kinds of things, it's yeah, it's easy to get lost, and it's easy to take it to a place too where you can use certain things as excuses. Oh, well, there's just and there are energies that come through. I'm not saying there aren't, but I think that, like, in my experience with dealing with some other people that are more on that trip of like kind of getting lost in it, of just like everything that happens to them, they'll use like an external reason why it was like that, or why this happened. Oh, it was this like this huge blast of energy that came, but that's like every single time. You know what I mean? It's not to say it
Yeah.
doesn't happen from time to time, or stars align or planets align and there's just funky energy that a lot of people will feel. And so, anyway, have you ever caught yourself in that place where you had to kind of be like, wait, like, all right, what's coming through? Where am I at? Like, basically, has it ever gotten to the point where it was like disorienting for you doing some of this work?
Yeah. So last summer I did this reading for somebody and it was really long. It was like the longest reading I've ever done, and I was like sweating. And I was like, did I just read that? And then I was like, there was some stuff that I was like, is that about me? And I was like, I don't, because sometimes when you're like reading tarot and stuff, like you'll get like your energy will rub off into the reading or whatever, and it could be for both people, but then it's like, wait, is that just for me? And so I'm like, yeah, that's where it gets to be kind of disorienting. The mediumship is not so much for me because a lot of the time, um, like I don't really do readings for people and stuff like that, and I don't expect, like, if I get a message for anybody to pay me, because I can't control um like what's going to come through or whatever. So I don't think that's really fair. But whereas like if you're doing like a tarot reading for somebody, I don't think that that would be bad to, or like that would be different because you're reading it right there and you can, you're obviously doing a thing. So, but it's when you're not in control of if somebody wants to come forward, or that's, I just feel a little bit weird about charging for that kind of a thing. But a lot of the time, like in training, it would just be like, make sure you're in a quiet space, no distraction, so it's a lot easier for the messages to be clearer sometimes. And yeah, I don't know, it's something about when like I was practicing with other people that wanted to learn how to do it. So that's when I would do actual readings, just to like kind of see where my limits were, and how to kind of hone it in so that I could tell what was one thing from another. Um, and that was a really interesting time. I worked with one group, I remember is called Jen Shepherd. That was her name or whatever. But I can't remember the whole name of the group that she was. But yeah, and she led like these. One was like art oriented, which was really cool, and so you'd like draw out what you were seeing, or if you're a person who gets like just a word, you'd like draw out or draw the color or something like that. And that was a cool one. But that I learned a lot during that, but I had to stop doing it because it just got to be too draining. Like I'd be, you'd sit and do maybe an hour, and you do 5 readings for people in that hour, and it was like taking on so many different kinds of things and then interpreting it, and it just got to be a lot. And I was like, I'm tired now. I couldn't figure out why I was so tired though. For a while I was like, why am I tired? I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, anyone, and this is even if you're not doing a reading for them, but like just like you and I, we're creating a chord to each other,
Yeah.
and so all these chords that you can send out, and some people take more than you have the capacity for, and vice versa and stuff. And so I feel like the cord cutting is really important. And is that something that you like to practice, or like is that how you look? Is that how you view it? Because I know not everybody like thinks of it that way. That's just one of the things that I always think of when I talk about this kind of stuff.
Um, I don't really do like cord cutting and stuff like that. I pretty much, and I don't really even do spells or like, I don't do stuff like that. I just kind of um, like, I always like to joke and say I'm a chaos magician, like, because I'm like, I don't follow, but it's not like that. It's like a different kind of chaos magic. Like, I just like do whatever I think feels good or feels right, like not feels good. Sometimes it'd be like, oh, I don't really feel like doing that, but it's probably necessary or whatever. But um yeah, I do just different stuff, and I try to work with crystals a lot too. um like, I really like my pieces of iron and my big quartz chunks.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they're helpful. um oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, 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 you go. You go. You're
I
right in the middle.
forgot. I
Oh.
forgot already. So.
No, I like where you're going with this. I like I like the fact that that is how you operate, and the whole spell thing. I have a theory on that as well, and I'm not really into I've never been into it really at all. I remember in high school, like, when you start to at least that was when this kind of stuff like started coming online for me, or I was getting hip to it, or I'd go to Barnes and Noble and go to like the Wicca section, and you're all like reading the books or whatever, and the craft came out and it was like, oh god, this is so cool or whatever. But I remember, like, and I've told this story to Mario so many times, but like, I had friends in high school who are just high school girls and they have crushes on guys and stuff, and they were like doing these spells, right, like these binding spells and these love spells and stuff, and one of them worked for one of the girls, and it like totally, I would just watched her tumble into like oblivion of just like not good stuff. It was like an older guy, and then he took her down this not good road, and she was like a childhood friend of mine. So it was really strange because I remember witnessing all this stuff, and then I always would think about her doing that spell or whatever, and I was like, "Whoa." And as like a 7th grader or 8th grader or something, I was like, "Oh, it worked," or whatever, but it's like not working good. And like
Right.
her mom would come to me and ask me these questions. She's asking me like, do you know what's going on with her and this and that? And I would be trying to be coy because I didn't want to get her in trouble. But at the same time, I'm like, well, something's going wrong, but I'm not going to tell her that she did like a magic spell. You know what I mean? But it was just really weird. And that seriously stuck with me because I've just seen so many things. I just think that it's really important to know like what you're attaching yourself to, what you're really asking for, and stuff like that. And I think that there's like a responsibility with this type of work that I've seen people be very responsible, and then I've seen people just be naive, and I know that there's all these like, I don't know. I just think it's really strange because I think what my philosophy is that it all comes back to you. So you can ask for all the things in the world from somewhere else, or from a magic spell, or from someone to just do this thing. But like, if you're not putting in the work and you're asking for this stuff, like, what are you really getting back? And is it something that's actually going to be benefiting you, or is it going to hold you back, or is it something that is supposed to come through and teach you a lesson, you know? So maybe that was the magic that she needed, was that lesson of whatever she asked for came back, and it was like a really big, life shift for her at a really young age. And
Yeah.
so anyway, I just think that there's like, and I'm not saying that people can do whatever they want. And that's the other thing. That's the other way I look at it too. It's like people can do whatever they want without any judgment too. It's just almost like kind of just knowing what you're doing and like thinking about it too before you do it.
Right. I've always been kind of like, I'm not gonna mess with anybody's free will unless it's their will is something to harm me, or someone I love or something. Then I'd be like, okay, well, just protection, or like a warding thing, not really like. So, and for those who don't know, warding would be more like you have a bubble around you.
Mm.
It's not like um like a binding thing would be like you're stopping them from doing any movement at all. But I feel like, yeah, like even if they come to you or whatever, then they would just like bounce away, or something would happen where they can't, you know, let's say it's some sorry about that.
That's okay. You're
um,
good.
let's
You're
say it's
good.
somebody that's going to come and attack you, and you know they trip and fall, or there's too much traffic, or you know their dog runs off and then they have to go chase after their dog or something, instead of you know coming and pursuing their attack against you. So to kind of put it in physical terms. But then there's also things like um, I know there is spells where it's like it stops people from talking bad about you, or like or whatever. And I'm like, I just started a video last night before I fell asleep, and it was Michael Dad, and it was about judgment or something about judgment, and I'll have to share it around. But it was saying, you know, if somebody talks bad about you, like if it's not true, like what do you care? Or even if it is true, like don't even care about it. Like
Yeah. I think it's kind of like a golden rule of life that you start to learn as you get older, and some people learn it when they're younger too. But that seriously is a key to success in like everything, even not even on like it's not the key to a successful business or whatever, but do you know what I mean? It's like the key to a successful life in general. And I know for me, that's been one of my harder things to actually deal with, is to not care what other people think, you know, especially as a younger person. I always had a lot of anxiety around that. And it wasn't until like my older years that I actually was able to step into that role of like actually not giving a fuck. And even sometimes still, you know, it's hard to not, you know, and especially in the way in the universe and the world how it is now, where everybody can, you know, somebody can get on your video and say, you know, horrible things or, you know, whatever. But you, as long as you're doing the right thing that you know is correct, you know that it's right in your soul and your heart, I mean, yeah, and you know the truth, then what everybody else says or thinks is kind of like it can kind of just go to by the wayside. And I liked what you said about not messing with other people's free will, because I think that that's a really important that's really well said, and that's a really great point to bring up.
yeah, I think that's kind of like in Aladdin, like that's why like the genie was like, I can't do these things, and I was like, that's good. Like, I'm gonna follow his advice.
Yeah.
But oh, there was something else you said. Oh yeah, it's I think a lot of people have a hard time with letting go of the external validation just in general, because it's like one thing when it's like just society or whatever, people you don't really talk to, but then when it turns around and it's like your family, and that happens a lot growing up, right? Like your family will judge things that you do because they have their things that they think is right or whatever. And so then you're like, wait, oh, you're like questioning yourself. And that's just, I think everybody, because everybody's in a family and everybody's a different person in the family. So, you know, and and then when you get older and you start to get friends that are outside of your family and stuff like that, and then you're like, well, I thought we were friends, or like, so it's kind of like, okay, well maybe you weren't really my friend, or maybe you'll get over it or whatever. But it's really hard for a lot of reasons, like and it's not like you don't want to be completely detached from people, but you don't want to like so attached to them. So it's like back to the balance again.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of it has to do with like having expectation. If you have expectations for the way you think of something is going to go down, how a person's going to be when you meet them, anything that you're doing, you have an expectation for whatever it is, it can be kind of detrimental actually. And so that's one of the things I've tried to like really drive home for my own self is to try and not have expectations. Don't feel like don't not like hope that it goes well or something like that, but like to have an expectation, you usually get really let down, and then that can just take wind out of the sails of anything really. And so yeah, I don't know, I think that again, balance and coming back to self, and that's like one of the most important things, and it's too bad they don't teach us this stuff in school. And
Right.
that it takes some of us, decades to learn it, right?
Right. Even if they just taught us, like, oh, hey, sit quietly for 5 minutes a day and also garden. Like, that would be enough. Like, you would learn so much. Like, you plant a seed and you expect all those seeds to come up. Like, that's not how it's going to work because half of those aren't even going to come up.
Yeah, totally. I know. And I like this here. My friend Mari, or her partner, says, "What others say about me is none of my business."
I like that one.
I like that. That's good. That's right on, Hank, man.
It's like, I don't got time for that. Like,
Yeah.
I have things to do.
No, it's so true. And that's one of the things too that I know we've kind of talked about in private almost, or not almost, but we have like just in passing in chats or whatever, but just the choices we've made to better ourselves and then getting pushback from people in our lives who we wouldn't have thought we got pushback from. And so like, do you have any examples of that for yourself when you were just like, wow, I'm trying to make a change, and you're totally not being supportive. And so what do you think that is? I mean, I know that it's a very like, I know I can answer that question, but I always like to talk to people about this sort of thing because I think we've all had it in life where, you're doing something and you're like really trying to make changes in a positive way, and like somebody that you think would be on your side is just like, you're like, whoa, what do you think that kind of like signals to?
So yeah, I have had that especially when I first was getting sober. It was like the first week that I was getting sober, and they're like, this person was like, oh, I hate when you're like this or whatever. And I was like, oh, so you just don't like my actual personality? Like, it was just like really weird to me. And I was like, okay. And so I think people just expect, like, oh, you're always going to be a certain way. And they want, like, it goes back to expectations. And it's kind of like you have to let go of that for the other person, too. Like, you can't really expect everybody to be on board with it because they know you as this one way and they like you that way, and it might be kind of scary. They might think that you're gonna like outgrow them, or they have their own attachment issues and stuff like that. So they might think, oh well, she's just gonna leave me behind, or they think they're better than me, and also ties into like insecurity, right? So some people get competitive in friendships or in families, and then if they feel like, oh, you're gonna better yourself, then oh, you must be better than me, or you know like I said, or they go to that weird attachment issue where they're like, well, I'm just gonna not deal with you that way because you're just gonna leave me behind anyway, so I'll do it first or whatever.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think like it's we can kind of act like mirrors for each other. And so I think too, when you start to either whatever the journey is that you're taking to make changes, it's like you hold a mirror up to somebody who's using and you're stopping using. That mirror is pretty shiny. It's like shining pretty brightly that there may be a problem on the other end of the mirror. And it's almost like it's such a paradigm shift for a lot of people that they're just not ready, and that's okay. And I remember talking to James about this from Grounded Extracts, but like some people just aren't even ready in this lifetime to kind of do a lot of this work. And I think that's one of the beauties of being here and being in the 3D is that we can kind of like we can choose to do this work or you can choose not to, and you can choose the people who are doing it, and surround yourself with these people who are supportive. And I think like one of the thoughts I had the other day was the thought of like being left out. And so this kind of thing like goes into that, because a lot of times when you do decide to make changes, you're usually like excluding yourself from something that's really not doing you any good. And so you might not get invited to these parties, or you might not get invited to this event, or maybe somebody didn't ask you to join this thing at that time or whatever. And I just remember like having to really deal with that throughout my childhood and my teens and my early 20s of like a lot of times always feeling left out, and then I would really now in hindsight, I'm able to look at it and be like, well, was it a bad thing that you were left out of whatever it was? And it actually probably was a gift, because there was probably some sort of lesson to show you that you had something else more important to do, whether it was be by yourself to have introspective thoughts, whether it was to stay away from somebody that you didn't even know you were supposed to stay away from. And so I just had that thought of like maybe being left out is actually way better than what it's like portrayed in, because I think in pop culture there's like there's like the mean girls who are like whatever, you have like, oh, they're a nerd or whatever and we don't like them, we're going to exclude them from the group, or they're going to do something else and they're not like around, and so, well, what's up with that or whatever. And it's like, well, we never know like what people are going through or what they're doing in their life, and so to like assume that it's about you or whatever. I just always kind of really think about that kind of stuff now. And so I just have like really had that thought where it's like, no, I think it's a blessing when like things don't maybe go the way you thought they were going to go with an invite or something. It's like an opportunity, instead of having negative feelings about it, or feeling like, oh, they don't like me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like it's like, okay, well, then I guess we're just not on the same level or whatever. We're not riding the same wave right now. And maybe we'll meet again, and probably, and sometimes not. And that's the way things are. And I think social media kind of plays into that a little bit more, where it's like, oh, why aren't you talking to me? Why aren't you this? Why aren't you that? And it's like, okay, we don't. I remember having a phone like just on my wall, right? Where I would just pick it up from the wall and be like, I can talk to you for half an hour, and then be like, okay, well, I gotta go. And then like that was the end of the conversation. And then you would actually have things to talk about, which was awesome. And, they used to just write letters to each other. Like before I really started using the phone that much, I would have pen pals from like elementary school, and it goes back to everything being so fast. Like you can just slow down. You don't have to be, like you said, a part of everything. Like be a part of your own thing, which can include other things, but like, and not like Sharon from Over Sharon was on the Weave on Saturday. She was I don't know what happened to that. I don't know what happened to my train of thought.
Okay.
I was like, where to go?
Yeah, no. I know. I did see that she was in the Weave, and I wasn't there, but I like looked at it the next day. I was like, oh, because I'm wanting to get to know her a little bit better. I have not really listened to many of her shows or anything, but I know that she's got some good insights and stuff, and people really enjoy what she's doing. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember it now.
good. I knew you
That's
would.
what I needed.
Yep, I knew you totally would.
um, no, she was saying how like she's really good one-on-one with people, and then she tries to like bring them together. And I've kind of experienced that quite a bit, where it's like, and it's not always just like one-on-one, but it's like I have this one friend, but then they never want to meet like my other friend group, or like like it just seems weird. And then I'm like, well, why wouldn't you want to meet them? Like they're cool. Like, do you think you're better than them, or So I can totally get where. And then I'm at a place where I'm like, that's okay. Like I'm kind of like a loner, so it's like I go like a little bit here and a little bit there, and you'll see me when you see me, and I don't have to be a part of everything that you do.
Right. And I think ultimately it boils down to self-confidence and just self-esteem and having a healthy relationship with yourself. And I just think like I'm really um I just think that again the individualization is so important, and the whole thing with like, clicks can get there's like a thing that happens in clicks that is very similar to this, communitarianism, which like Sean Elder talks about a lot, where it's always like everybody's concerned about the community first, community first, community first. And it's like, well, but if like you're not right, if your contributions are, they're not that they're not important, but if you're not right in your own way and you have like the confidence and things like that, it's just like if you're worried about the community before taking care of your own self, there's going to be something off there, in my opinion. And I've used this example before, but it's so classic on an airplane. The mask drops down and they tell you put your mask on first before you help someone else. And it's not being selfish, it's being almost responsible in a way of like, because if you're not breathing and you're going to try and put someone else's mask on, you might not be able to put either mask on because you weren't even ready to be there and you didn't have the air and the capacity to do it, and then maybe both of you didn't get to do it. And so I think that we can get lost in the sauce of that kind of stuff too. And yeah, it's something that I talk about a lot, or Mario and I talk about a lot, that we've noticed, just in general in life, that it's like it's a very liberal sort of mindset as well, I think.
Yeah.
It's not about the individual, it's about everyone else, keeping everyone else safe. I'm doing this for the good of everybody else. And I think that when we just do what's good for ourselves, we are in turn doing what's good for the community. And I think that that's that one puzzle piece that gets lost in that mentality.
Totally. And I'm not like super one way or the other on the political spectrum. I do think like it's good to do things that are like community based, but I think there is like I could totally see like, oh, everybody in the community knows that this one family or whatever is struggling, and yet everybody's like, let's donate to kids sports or something. And it's like, how about you all take your $5 and just go give it to this lady on social security that's been eating cat food for 2 months or whatever.
Right.
Like, so I think there's a little bit of misappropriation of effort in general, like not just funds, like just effort. Like it's not just about like, oh, well, the kids are the future, and it's like also respect the elderly. Like I feel like they just don't get enough respect anymore. And there's people the same age as you, younger, I'd say mid-range people that are like 20 to 50 that are working class or whatever you want to say. um, they're struggling too. And I think that that gets overlooked too. Like they might be like, oh well, if they have kids, take care of their kids. But like, it's more than just like the way that it's done is not really actually helping. Like sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I totally I feel the same way about that. And I like the point about yeah, helping people that actually really need the help as opposed to signaling. You know, I think a lot of
Yeah.
things are done as a signal. Well, I donate $1,000 a year to the blah 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 trust and it makes me feel good because I donated my money. It's like, well, where's that money going? You know,
Right.
what is it actually really doing? And I think that that's what gets lost a lot with a lot of these charities and things. And anybody who's looked into quote unquote truth or information or has enough sense to read between the lines, you start to find out that these things like the Red Cross and the Humane Society and all this stuff, it's like, it's actually not as humane as you might want to think it is. It's one thing to obviously I rescue animals if that's what you want to do and stuff, but I feel like I've heard stories, even like from my own grandma, who's like, she had a litter of kittens and she took the kittens and she had just like a not very good situation go on with them. And I don't know. I think that people are trying to do good through these organizations that at the root of the organization, it's not a good organization. And
Yeah.
so it's unfortunate to me because I think there's a lot of good-hearted people out there that really do legitimately want to give money to a certain cause. And there are organizations that are like legit and they're doing stuff and whatever. But I just think that like the root of a lot of these mainstream organizations that claim to help people or whatever are actually it's all about the bottom line for their own self and their own
Totally.
company.
While we were talking about that, I totally had a Gabe thought.
Oh yeah, bring it.
It's like, oh, like Bill Gates. And I was like, oh, isn't that kind of weird? They call it like gatekeeping. I was like,
Yeah, man, totally. Yeah, who is Bill
yeah,
Gates? I mean, seriously,
right.
that could be like a
Oh.
freaking Siri.
I remember seeing one time, and this was a few years, this is probably 10 years ago or something. There was somebody had a post of like, um, oh, Bill Gates donated to me, and it was like he bought a cow in India, and then like for where it was probably just a cow for on his own crap. Now thinking back on it now, but and then sent her a stuffed cow because she sent him a letter about how inspired she was by him or whatever. It was like, why wouldn't you just give her like some money for her college fund or something? Like you can handle that. Like, a cow for your own self. Like, yeah. Anyway, I have
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have thoughts. That's a different weave.
Nice. No, I'm down to go that weave sometime though, for sure.
Yeah.
But, I did have one other specific question about the mediumship stuff, and do you find that there's, like, a certain, time of the year or a time in your life, that your messages come through stronger?
Not really, no. Because, well, and I'll okay. So maybe for like time in my life, yeah. Because when I've been going through like big changes and I obviously like need the messages, like
Mm,
um they'll be pretty strong. Like when I was going through court and things like that for I'm divorced and I would like literally get the same song coming up over and over in my Pandora, and it would like stop in the it would start playing another song for a little bit, and then it would stop in the middle of that and go immediately back to the same song. And that song was following me for like a month, and I was like, I get it. Like,
right.
it was nice and it was reassuring because and the song was Don't Let Me Down by the Beatles, which is like, I mean, I'm not like a huge Beatles fan, but now I'm like a fan of that song.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that that's how, like, God, the universe, our ancestors kinda work. Like, they know when we need a little extra help or whatever. So that makes sense that that would happen, when you're actually kind of seeking it. Or maybe you have like a family member who was seeking something, or do you usually have friends that reach out to you to kind of help them connect with people who have passed, or is it more of like random people that you've met along the way?
No, it's just like, I guess there's not really too many people in like my private personal life that really know, so they don't really like come through. But if I get messages for them, like my best friend, I'll be like, hey, I got you this because like your dad said, like your dad
Ah,
said to get it for you. And then like I've reached out to people who I've gotten messages for, and like it's like we just don't link up right or something. Like I never can get the message to them or whatever. So, and then it's like after so much time, it's just kind of like, well, do I even try anymore? Or, like, um, so there's, yeah, stuff like that. And, um, yeah, I don't like, and I have gotten messages that were like, because I work in retail, and I have gotten messages that are like some of the customers, and I'm like, I don't know if I should say anything. Like,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't want to upset people either. So, especially in like that kind of a setting where like I'm at a normie job or whatever, and like I'm just like, oh hey, your uncle said you owe $5 or something, like, and maybe that's like an inside joke, but like I don't know it's an inside joke, so I'm like, I don't know.
Have you ever told anybody in public like that, a message, and then did you get like a negative response, or do you usually just kind of keep it closer to your chest?
I usually just pretty much like keep it to myself because I'm like, even within my own family, like I've gotten stuff, and I have a really big family, like on my dad's side, so like there will be a lot of life events that happen, and
Mhm.
sometimes I'll be around, and you know, I'll get stuff, and I try in those situations because I know that it's not gonna go over well if I say it. Um, kind of convey the message in a way that doesn't directly say the message, if that makes sense. Like, um, in just in the way that I like interact with that person or whatever for the rest of the day. I'm just like, oh, okay, like this is who we're sticking with today, or however it is that it ends up. But it usually turns into a pretty interesting. It's kind of like following. There's a lot of intuition involved, I guess, where it's like, okay, is this gonna go good or not? And then like, what can I alternatively do for this person to help them um, in this time or whatever? And yeah, there's been some stuff like I sometimes get stuff from my mom's mom, and so um, I can kind of talk about it with like my mom and my sister and be like, oh hey, like you know this happened, and they'll be like, it's a sign, that kind of a thing. So, but I won't like directly be like, all like, oh, grandma said this or whatever. Like, so,
Yeah, that was actually one of the things I wondered too, if your family is supportive of, if and when you bring this kind of stuff up, are they supportive, or is it more, something depending on who the person is, a lot of times, yeah, 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 or there is also people that are very interested in knowing that you're getting these feelings and stuff. So it's cool that you can at least bring it up to some of the people in your family,
yeah,
because yeah, I mean, I'm sure that for them too, it's like if they're open to it, it then helps deepen their connection with they're with the family, and and it kind of just spirals
Right.
out.
Well, and even just with themselves, I feel like it helps them to be, you know, kind of maybe something sticks out a little bit more if they're needing encouragement, you know, in a time. And it's like, I don't know if that ever happens to them, but I guess my sister, so she's my half sister, and her dad passed away when she was 14. And so she did have an experience where she got to speak at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, um, when they went to DC, and that's where she got to give a speech. I don't even know what it was about. But I'm a great sister, I promise. And so she said that she started having all these like technology glitches, and this was before 14-year-olds didn't have cell phones at this time. So like she just had like a digital camera and stuff like that. But like, yeah, so she goes to take pictures and her camera just like freezes and like won't turn on, and takes out the battery, still won't turn on. And it was just, I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy. I was like, do you think your dad was with you with that? And she's like, yeah, I kind of think so. So I like stuff like that.
I think that they work through ways like that for sure. All right, there's another question here from Cody. Do you have a specific thing that has stood out to you during your ancestral communication, to you as far as wisdom or realization from the communication?
That's a good question.
It is. Yeah. And if anyone else has questions, feel free and throw them up in here, because we're just flowing. So, yeah.
Leave it to Cody to get deep. I guess, yeah, like some of the stuff you'll see me like going off on stuff once in a while in the chat, or like, in some Telegram groups. I'll just be like, in this. And I think some of that comes from there, like sometimes. And I do, I think like with my tracking my genealogy and being able to do that while I'm doing that, it helped to kind of put the pieces together of like, why has it been like this, like in a karmic kind of a way. So yes.
Nice. No, I can see that. And I kind of want to turn the sails towards art a little bit, because I know that that's one of your loves and that's one of the things that you do. And I wanted to also find out too how much of this type of work, communication with the other side or inspiration or your intuition, how much of that influences your art. And do you ever find yourself kind of feeling like you might like channel some kind of piece or a collage or whatever that you're doing? Do you have experiences like that when you're working with art?
Oh yeah, most of the time.
Yeah, I feel it. I bet.
Yeah. Like you'll notice a lot of my stuff has like lyrics in it, but I'll be listening like while I'm doing whatever. Because I'll write lyrics down. I'll just stop whatever I'm doing at work, because I work at like a really small hardware store, so I can just kind of like, while I'm working, go take a little break, write something down, and whatever. So that's nice. But I won't even like be listening to that same song when I'm like putting stuff together. Oh, here, I'll give like one example. Okay. Like this one. Okay. So I just started like with these figs here, and then I was just like, oh, well, we also had this cheese, so that was also gold. So I'm going to write stay golden. But then I didn't even realize on the other side when I was doing the other side that it was silver. So, and it was like, kind of like, I don't know, it's like it ties in together somehow, and I didn't even try to do it. I was like, So
Yep.
it says, yeah, you can keep those words of wisdom to yourself, and then it says stay golden. So it's like silence is golden.
Dude, and then silver and gold, it's like, hello, they
Yeah,
love that. It's like they're like the precious metals that everybody kind of knows. It's like silver and gold, that's what we're talking about. So it's like they're the pair. They wanted to be together. That's cool.
yeah, yeah. It's just kind of weird how some of times it turns out, and then I'll look at it again and I'll be like, and then like I'm kind of like thinking about how I'm laying it out, and I'm like, okay, now I'm getting into more where I can like think about the story of it, like kind of
Mhm.
new to that, more to that spread, I guess. So I'm like, oh, well, I should tell a story just within this one page or whatever, kind of, and have it relate back to the song lyrics, or maybe not, and and then like some of the things that I'll think about will like come up in conversations later, and I'm like, which is weird because sometimes like conversations that I have with people influence my art, and like so it's just a little bit of everything. I'm like, oh, today we're talking about dreams, so I kind of want to do something that's dreamy. Or today we're talking about, the sun is out, and I want to do something sunshiny. So, and then later something else will come up, and I'll be like, that's kind of like my sketchbook page. It's, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, flat earth hippies up, all up in here. That's Hank. What's up, Hank? Silver and gold,
Hello,
male,
Hank.
male and female. Yes, totally. That's a good one. I like that. And then you had the figs, and I always think of, I mean, you can sometimes people will link figs to like testicles, um, or ovaries, but I think the testicles, it kind of, it's a testicle food, testicle health. You have all your seeds in there, man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And so Dakota does have another question. Um, I believe you said you had native Amaruka. Is that how you say that? Blood? Have artistic native expression of art ever come to you?
Oh no, I live near an Indian reservation, but I don't have any native blood. And I have a lot of native friends, but I do there's a lot of stuff, like I love seeing people's beadwork, and I love seeing people's like there's this one lady that makes really awesome moccasins around here. Um so that is a little bit of inspiration comes from there, cuz that's kind of my everyday life is the people around me, right?
Yeah, definitely. And were you born and raised in the area that you're living now?
I was born here, and then I moved when I was like 10, and then I moved back up. So then I spent like the summers here and stuff. And so I moved back up when I was older.
Okay. Yeah, so it kind of is in your blood in its own way, the regions,
Right.
kind of just like what we were talking about earlier. The region that we end up is probably, there's way more messages in those regions than we think.
I'm
Oh,
definitely, yeah, bonded to the place in some way. Do animals speak through you? Hmm. I feel like sometimes they have things that they want to say. So one of my things that kind of more so made me want to go and explore my abilities, or this capability of the human mind, I guess, was I um, was in Texas, and I was staying at a ranch, and they had this mini horse, and the mini horse was treated kind of like a dog, and they had other horses, but this mini horse would go around the lawn and everything. And then one day, it was pretty much just me at the house or whatever, and I was walking around, and this little mini horse comes up to me and nips me, and I was like, that's so uncharacteristic. Like, what are you doing? And like, so I was like, I didn't really think anything of it. And then later, the same day, she had a seizure. So it was super crazy. I was sitting there, I was like holding her head when she was having the seizure because my mom has epilepsy. So I was like, no, it's so scary for you. And I was holding this little horse's head, and the family's like, oh, we should just leave her be. And I just felt really bad just leaving her there. But I was like, I don't really know what to do because it's like your horse. And like, but I don't feel like she should just be left here. And so, and there was kind of like an air about the day. Like, when I look back on it, like the day felt different. I don't know how to, and I've had that same feeling like when it's the last time that I see somebody once in a while, I'll get that. Or on the day of somebody that like I know is gonna pass, and it's just a weird. I don't know how to explain that at all because it's like it's just something in the air. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just
no.
saying I don't know because, but like I have
Yeah,
no
I know what
idea
you
how
mean.
to explain it.
You know, but you don't know how exactly to put it into words for other
Right,
people.
like
Yeah.
you know the feeling, but it's almost like something opens up or something, you know, like there's this like little like hand poking through the veil or something. Like I guess that's the best explanation I can put on it.
No, that's a good way of putting it because I feel that way too. Like, and I think that the energies shift for us to like attune to something that we might not be sure what we're supposed to attune to, but there's something in the air and it's pinging us so that we can be more open or something or open to receive, and just acknowledging that the energy shifts or something has changed, I think like opens the gate to even receive a lot of these messages. And I think like that's one of the things that, I think one of the agendas for keeping everybody just like separated from nature and everything else is to literally just take away that ping that you get to be able to sense the world around you, sense the energy that shifts or the moment that might be opening an opportunity for you to tune in. There's so many distractions that can take you away from these really, really beautiful, very just like deep intuitive moments that we have with ourselves and the people around us. And yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're putting out with the energy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's totally
it's
a
just
thing.
it's just indescribable, and I think maybe it's kind of pointless to try and describe it, but for the sake of trying, I might as well.
Yeah, yeah. So I think so. I watched your latest YouTube update, and so you're getting prepared to bring together your own zine. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I keep trying to like put together these other ones, and like it just feels like out of flow right now. Like I still want to do them, but like it's just not working. Like I can't make myself be inspired to do it. Like I kind of started it. So I decided like I'm just going to put together like a little sampler of my work, and I'm going to put a video together kind of the same way, but I think I'll use different images and stuff. So there's more of a cohesive, like the zine will be different from the video. It's just kind of like, it's not really like you see people do sketchbook tours or whatever. I don't know if you've seen those, but it's not really gonna be like that. It's just gonna be like dumping stuff out. And so, yeah, I kind of wanted to do that, and then maybe make some more stickers because I do like making those.
Yeah, we have some of your stickers you sent us, which are very nice. I like your style because there's a playfulness to what you're doing, and I think that we need more playfulness a lot of times. And I think when you have the playfulness that's in a, in a productive way, it again, it opens up more of our ability to just feel into a situation or feel into ourselves when we kind of lighten up. A lot of times, there's when you're too serious or things are heavy or whatever, that it makes it harder to even just open yourself up to your own self. And I think the playfulness that we can find in art and in nature and then mimicking that is something to be, cherished and shared. So I like it.
Oh, totally. I definitely find like whatever you want to call my art style, I don't really know. I find it pretty therapeutic, and I do um, notice that, like, sometimes I do want to do something a little bit more serious and put together, and it's definitely a totally different vibe. I don't like feel like down or anything when I do more put together stuff, but it's just like it's nice to have the areas that I do to just, not be so, kind of let go, not be so attached to like it has to turn out, it goes back to that expectation thing, really, because with art, even if you're really, really good, even if you're Da Vinci or Michelangelo or something, there's going to be stuff about your art that you just don't like, and or it doesn't turn out the way that you thought it was going to turn out, um, or whatever. And so that's helpful to um, learn those lessons, like just through something that's not so interpersonal. It's just like, oh well, I did that, so and I can throw it away if I want to, but I usually just keep my mistakes or I paint over them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way of looking at it too, because they're still gonna be there even if you throw it away.
Yeah.
It's still made an impression on you, so you might as well embrace it instead of reject it. Because when we start rejecting too, that's when things get rough too. Um, Even if it's something that we think is not good for us or whatever, it's almost like you almost have to let those things in to at least see, like, why is it here? Why is this coming up? You have to at least have enough curiosity to ask the question why it's coming up. And I think that that kind of goes along with all of that. And so are you you're kind of tapped into like the local zine scene in Minnesota in your area, are you? Or you're
um oh, go ahead, sorry. I
no,
didn't mean to
or
interrupt.
wait, go ahead. What was that?
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, you're good. Whatever, it's all good. Yeah, because I know like in lots of cities, there's lots of zine scenes, so I know like in Portland, there's a really big network of people who do zine stuff and throughout the whole country in different cities. But I just wonder if you are tapped into anything that you're really feeling out there or what.
Yeah, so I guess where I'm at is super remote, so there's not really any kind of scene unless you like fishing. But
Nice.
I do like one zine that's out of the cities so far, and for those who don't know, in Minnesota, anywhere in the Minneapolis St. Paul area is the cities, and that's it. That's it. All we got. But um, I don't really know of other ones specifically from that area. I I did become a part of a collage zine through the Twin Cities Collage Collective, so that was really cool. One moment.
Yep. Oh, hello. Well, yeah, that's cool. So with the zine stuff, I love zines. Andy's taking taking 5. Oh, her daughter's here. Awesome.
You want to say hi quick? Yeah. Okay. Should we take a little break? Did you need help with something?
The movie was all done, and but I just wanted to tell you that can I stay up here as long as I want?
Well, maybe a little bit. Okay.
How's it going?
Want to say hi? This is Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. What's your name?
Addison.
Addison?
Don't say your last name.
Okay, yeah. Well, nice to meet you, Addison. Thanks for popping in. We're just talking to your mom about her art.
Yeah. Do you like to do art?
Yeah.
You want to show some of your art? Here, go grab a couple of your pictures. You're famous now. Okay.
Oh,
nice. What do we got there?
This is my costume. So when it's gonna be Halloween, I'll wear this to school.
Ooh.
But I forgot to finish this glowing part. It's where it glows.
Very cool.
This is the part where I have a donut.
Nice. I like it. I like donuts.
I love it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So do you and your mom, do you like to draw with your mom? Do you ever draw with her?
Sometimes, but not a lot.
Oh, not a lot. Sure.
I bet your mom likes to draw with you.
Oh, she's okay. Are you gonna? How about you go get your drawing stuff and you can draw while I'm on the phone or on the video? Okay.
Okay. All right. Nice to meet you, Addison.
All right.
I'll get the drawing stuff from downstairs.
Okay.
Let's pause the talking.
Pause the talking. No, you can go get your stuff and just come back. Okay.
Okay. But don't forget me in that.
Okay. You can come say bye to everybody when we're done. Okay.
But Mommy.
Because I said. She thinks she's so cool now.
Well, she is.
I am not.
She just said I'm not cool.
Aw, yes, she is. She looks so much like you. That's awesome. I really like that. That's so cool.
I was like, oh, I didn't expect. She's watching Nausicaa, so I was like, oh, that's pretty long.
Yeah, no, totally. And we've been going for a while too. So I mean, yeah, it's totally understandable. It's all good. I like it. I see that is one of the reasons why I started the show is because I just love learning people's stories. I love talking to people about their life and what they've done and what they've realized through their life. And children are in that equation for a lot of people. Right. And I just think it's really freaking awesome. And I just want to be able to showcase people and what they do. And this is what you do. This is your life. And so I cherish it. I love it. And I think it's cool. And I think that there's like we were talking about with the seriousness or whatever, when you take things like this even too seriously, I just think that things get like sputtered up and you almost have to just allow life to flow a little bit more and not be so particular about like, oh no, we can't do it that way because whatever. And, there's within reason, you have to be smart and wise and make good decisions or whatever, but you also have to be able to flow with what life throws at you because I think that's one of the more challenging things to learn in life. But once you find that wave and you're able to ride it, I just think a lot of more doors open up, doors of opportunity. So yeah. And having her be able to just say hello and show her drawing, who knows what that's going to inspire, right? You know what I mean? She just might be like, oh, wow, that was so cool. And then it might want to make her draw even more. So
yeah. We watch a lot of art videos together. That's like our main thing.
Yeah.
Can you sit down next to me? And then you can draw down there. And when it's time to say goodbye, I'll cue you up, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so you guys like to watch drawing shows and stuff together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Nice.
we watch all kinds of artists on YouTube, and we both have our favorites.
Yeah, that's really cool because you're planting seeds for her, and it's probably definitely going to carry over. And who knows what she'll be able to create as she gets older and stuff like that, and take inspiration from you. And that's why, I mean, I just think it's really cool to be able to see that she's got the way she likes to draw and things like
Can I
that.
tell
And
you one more thing?
of course, if your mom is all right with that.
What is it? You tell me first.
Tell
Tell me first and whisper it to me. Oh, okay. Yeah, you can say that.
I am at preschool.
You are in preschool?
Yeah, because I am like 5 years old, and it's like a whole hand.
It is a whole hand. Nice. That's a big deal. A whole hand's a big deal. That's awesome.
Can I have a high five? Don't blow a bubble with your spit. Goofball. Okay, go draw for just a little bit, okay? And then I'll get you when it's time.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I always notice when I'm not in flow with things, that it's just like I get like either one way or the other. Like I get like super irritable, or I get like the blues really bad, and I'm like, something's not right.
Yeah, definitely. And I find that, I mean, I know for me, it's been a challenge to stay in more of a positive mindset because for a lot of my life, I was in a pretty severe scarcity mindset, and I would spiral into negative thought patterns. And then the negative thought patterns would then prevent me from actually really getting down to the heart of matters of why I was in scarcity mindset, why I was having negative thought patterns, and all of these things. And it just becomes a slippery slope that if you're not if you're not flexible enough to really just like pick up on the things that are coming to you and assess them as to why they're coming, all sorts of negative stuff comes from it. And being in flow, it's really important to just like allow things to happen, I think. But also take control when you know control is needed, because there's just like everything, there's a divine
I
balance
want
in
to go get some more stuff down the
Oh,
stairs.
okay. Thank you for telling me.
it. So with all of that, is there anything? Oh.
Okay.
Is there anything with the zines that are coming out, or where people will be able to find the zines when you release it? Or are you just like, where would you like people to find you if they're interested in learning more about what you do and your art and everything else?
Yeah, so the best place to see my art and stuff is on Instagram. So it's just Andee.Crone, just like it's spelled in the description. So yeah, and that's where it's at. And then I do have a YouTube channel. It only has like a few videos on it right now, but you can also check that out. There's I have a link tree in my Instagram, so you can get to it through there. And that's also just Andee Crone as well. So.
Nice. And I love your logo. It's like it's a cloud that has like the hanging letters of your name. If you have that around, that'd be awesome. But if you don't, you can see it on her link tree, which all of her stuff is down in the description below. Yes. I love it. It's so simple, but I just freaking love that. I remember seeing it the first time, and it has your essence in like the best of ways. So I just wanted to let you know I appreciate that, and I've always really loved it, and I was drawn to it. So,
oh, thank you. I appreciate your appreciation and your support.
Yeah. And one of the other things that I wanted to bring up that's kind of just like a little weave that I noticed with the episode itself, because we're on episode 9, and I know that in some of our chats we talked about how you are life path 9. So anyone who's into numerology, um, your life path is 9, as is mine, and then we're on episode 9. And so it was one of the weaves that
Yeah.
came to me today, this afternoon, when I was just kind of getting everything ready for it. And so anyway, I was looking into life path 9, and one of the big themes about it is like learning to let go, and that being one of the biggest things that could be important for somebody who has that numerology. And it really resonated with me because that is one of the things that, as I talked about earlier, just the insecurity of what other people are thinking. Am I doing this right? Should I be doing this? Blah, 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 blah. One of my biggest challenges has been being able to let go more easily, not being so emotionally attached to situations, whatever. And so I just wanted to know if that was a theme that you noticed for yourself, because I kind of thought that that was interesting, that that was a theme for number 9, because a lot of times they'll say that the life path number 9 is like, not that you're like, I mean, who knows if you eventually get to finally leave this place, or if we always come back, or whatever. Anyway, I valued that theme, and it resonated with me, so I kind of wanted to see your thoughts on the whole life path thing and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I definitely think that the letting go part was definitely a lesson that I've had to learn through multiple things. But also, I think it's interesting that this is episode 9. We're both life path number 9, and that's like the very next step before the end of the cycle in like tarot. It's like 10s, they're always the end of the cycle is ended or whatever. So it's like, oh, that's interesting. Then we're talking about mediumship and, past loved ones. And then a lot of people interested in their genealogy might also be interested in like their generational stuff, that they're ending cycles there. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought so too. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I know that we love to weave and love to see those synchronicities that kind of flow in. And I was like, whoa, that's actually a cool one. I like that. And number 9, I mean, even before I knew I was a life path number 9 or whatever, I kind of always had a fascination with it because it's the Hermit card. And I like the theme of the Hermit card and the going within, and he's holding his own lantern. He's the one shining his own light to lead his way. And I always kind of keep that in mind when it's number 9. And then there's all this, mathematical stuff with 9, and it reduces back to itself continuously. And yeah, one of the other things that the site I found talked about was that the life path number 9 usually has like a piece of each number in it, because it is that last number. But I've also heard that, is there like a life path 11 or something like that too?
Yeah, so there's like the ascended master numbers. So there's 11, and I can't remember what the ascended masters are, except for I know 33 was Jesus or whatever, is what they always associate it with. It's like we don't know his actual birthday, so I don't know how they figured that out. And then there's 22 and 33, and then it goes. And some people, I think there even is, if you happen to have an 1111, I think that's a thing.
Okay.
Or something. But those are I tend to think it pretty much ends at 33. So
Gotcha. Yeah. And Mel's saying she's an 11, and then we got J-Lo at 22. Nice. Yeah. I love hearing this kind of stuff, because I really do. I'm not a numerologist by any means, but anytime it pops up, it tends to really resonate with me and a lot of the things that come up. So anyway, just wanted to get your thought and then drop that little sync in for you, because I thought it was kind of cool.
Of course. Those 9s are following me.
Heck yeah, man. That's awesome. So we got 11s and 22s coming up. Cool. Nice.
Awesome.
Well, awesome. This was really fun, and I'm so freaking glad we got to have a conversation. I'm really happy we just kind of got to hash some of this stuff out, and I got to learn a little bit more about your practices and what you do, because I'm super fascinated by this type of stuff, and I think there's a lot of value in it. And I think ultimately these things, these gifts that we're given to be able to tap in, really, as we've said multiple times, are the thing that help us understand who we are even more, and then allow those gifts to come out more. And I think that that kind of goes along with the whole family lineage thing. When we tap into these gifts that, maybe none of our other ancestors really tapped into, I think then we're giving that gift back into our family line. And so the more we can do that kind of stuff, and the more we can just tap in and allow things to come, the better it is, really.
Right. And yeah, just one more thing with that is like, it doesn't have, family lineage gifts, it doesn't have to be something woo woo or whatever. You could just tap into like art or photography or, blacksmithing
Mommy.
or whatever.
Yeah, agreed. Totally agreed.
You want to come say bye?
Yeah. There's one more question.
Okay, what's up?
have a cat, and her name is Luna. She's just outside.
Yep, she's outside.
Yep. What's your cat's name?
Luna.
Luna?
What is it?
Luna.
Luna? Ah, Luna. I have a cat. He's outside my door. His name's Carl. He's been meowing. He's been meowing and meowing at me for the last 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah, she's been meowing since I got home, and I was like, enough already. Go outside.
He's like, Mom, you'll be talking later. Talk. Well, cool. I was very happy to meet you too, Addison. Thank you for popping in and sharing your art with us.
What do you
Keep
say?
on drawing, all right?
Can you say thank you and you're welcome?
Thank you, and you're welcome.
Aw, well, thank you. All righty, ladies. Well, you have a really great rest of your evening, and thanks again. And
You're
yeah,
welcome. It
this
was
awesome.
it was tons of fun.
I agree. And everybody can find Andee's links down in the description below, as she said, where you can find her. But if you didn't hear her, you can check out the links in the video down below, and you can find her and connect with Andee whenever you like. So with that, I'll let you guys go and enjoy your evening together. And I've got a couple announcements for whoever wants to stick around. And yeah, you guys take care.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Hey, people, how's it going? Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for sharing space with us and allowing us to ramble, allowing things to get, have some kids involved and stuff. That was fun. That was super cool. And I really liked that she wanted to share her art and everything else. And what do you know? Mom is showing her things that she's going to be able to, hone in on her own in her own life and take it where she takes it. So, with all of that, I will get to my announcements here. I've got some slides for you guys. And let's see. Still trying to figure out. There we go. All right. So, next week's show, I've got the local goddess herself, Rachel Munoz. So I'm very excited to talk with Rachel. We're going to go into a handful of spaces, but I want to talk to Rachel a little bit about her druidry and what she's learning. And she's kind of started this new path. And it's really exciting to see where she's going with it. We'll probably talk about a handful of other things. I know that she's always got some really good stuff that she's working on. I really also, in the art vein, I really want to talk to Rachel about her art, because over the time of getting to know her, I've seen her create some really beautiful things. And but on all the streams that I've seen her on, besides Flow State and sometimes in Weaving Spiders Webs, I've never really heard her story about how she got started on the art path. So I want to really get into that with her as well. And again, kind of like with Andee Crone, just like allowing things to kind of come through and see what topics come up, have some sort of, a little bit of an idea of where we're going to go and then let things flow. So we'll have Rachel with us next week on January 24th at 4 p.m. Pacific. And for anyone who doesn't know, my full moon offering this month is my soap and shampoo bars. I have a few of each soap left, kind of coming down to the end of it, which is really great. A lot of people like soap, which is cool. So I've got a couple bars of each. So if you're interested in trying those, you can still reach out to me and send me an email. And one of the other things, so I recently made a batch of lip balm, and the thing with lip balm is that I don't make it very often. I really do I like how my product comes out. I love my lip balm actually, and I really a lot of people also like it because I used to make it a lot more back in the day. But so for the next 6 orders, you will receive a free lip balm. So if you order within the next 6 people, I'll throw a free lip balm in for you. And I just wanted to share them with people. I've had people reach out and buy some too. But one of the things with lip balm, if somebody wants like one lip balm, the shipping costs more than a lip balm. So I'm like, all right, let's try and like just kind of share the wealth on this one. So anyway, next 6 people to place orders, I'll throw that in for you. And the menu is up, which is kind of stayed the same for the past couple of weeks. But I really have an emphasis on the soap right now. So that's really cool. I'm going to be making some more soap coming up. So I'll have more for the next couple of weeks. I wanted to just talk a little bit about my tinctures for everybody because I do have a handful of fresh herb tinctures. Everything that I've tinctured, we've grown. So it all comes from our garden and it's all made with fresh herbs. That's my style. I really like just like making folk medicine. So I do 100 proof vodka with these tinctures and lots of love, lots of good energy going into them. And so right now I work a lot with singles. So you might hear some herbalists talk about that. Singles are usually just a one plant remedy. So my single tinctures that I have right now are mugwort, motherwort, St. John's wort, blue vervain, and lemon balm. So if you're interested in all of those or any of those, let me know. I mean, if you're interested in anything else that you see on the list, you can also just get a hold of me. And JLo's asking if her teas are done because I'm doing a custom tea order for JLo. They're not done yet, but I did finally get that herb order. It took a long time. Mountain Rose Herbs is awesome. Their quality is always really great, but I don't know what the deal was. They said that they were experiencing some sort of hold up with their shipping stuff. So it took a while, but I got all the supplies and your tea will be ready very soon. And the blue vervain, super just really calming to the nervous system. Blue vervain is known to help people who have anxiety, specifically people who find themselves always busying themselves because they can't calm down or they may have a little bit of a hard time focusing on tasks. Blue vervain can be really great for that one. I like taking it even sometimes before going to bed. Because it just like really brings the mood down in a really gentle way though too. And it's lovely by itself, but I also have blue vervain in my Rest Easy tincture, which I also have available, and that is blue vervain, hops, and motherwort together, and that's a really great one for calming the nervous system. Yeah. What's up, Grounded Extracts? What's up, James? Or Najla, or both. I love you guys. Hope you guys are doing good. I love blue vervain too. Oh my God. And when we started growing it, it was really cool to watch how it grows. It's like really spiky looking, but it has the blue flowers. So it's like really peaceful looking. It's peaceful, but spiky at the same time. And I always look at it and I think like it's good for a person who like feels kind of like bing, you're just like really kind of energetic, have a hard time focusing your mind. But that calming sense of the blue vervain like brings you into that blue mood, that blue room of just calming your body and kind of like having almost like a cooling effect too. So yeah, there's my little spiel on my tinctures that I got going on. I'll have one bottle of elderberry syrup left for anybody who's interested in that. And I won't be making elderberry syrup for a while now. So anyway, just a heads up on that. Oh, awesome. You guys are both here. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you guys were listening. Thanks for the support. I appreciate it. And Najla, I really want, I want to have you and James both on because I really want to tap into your wisdom as well, my lady, because you guys are doing good work. So, with all of that said, michelleshealinghome@gmail.com. You can email me if you want any orders or you have questions. I'm also offering consultations on learning how to make your own remedies if you're wanting to kind of tap into more like folk medicine and how to make stuff. Maybe you have specific questions about certain like herbs you want to use for protection, kind of like what Andee and I were talking about tonight. We can go in a lot of places, but I have a video on my website that kind of runs down my offerings for consultations. You can watch that at michelleshealinghome.com. And you can also text me if you're more comfortable doing that, 503-568-1569. And with all of that said, my people, thank you for being here. As always, I've been having a really good time with this podcast. And I really foresee this being like a thing that I'm just really digging on. And Mario and I were talking about this afternoon, but I'm so grateful to be able to have this opportunity because this feels like, when you find the thing that you know you're supposed to be doing, this feels like that. And I haven't had something like that in a while. Herbs were like that for me. Homemaking and kitchen witchery has been like that for me. But when this podcast just kept pinging me, like we were talking about tonight too, like I kept getting messages that I was supposed to do this podcast. I'm supposed to do a podcast. You need to do the podcast. And every time that message came through, kind of like what Andee said, you kind of like tuck it away for a second because you're like, yeah, I'll get that. I'll get there. I'll get there. But it didn't stop. And now I feel like I know why. I can see why I was being pushed to do this. So grateful for all the people that are here and who have been very supportive and I'm very excited to continue talking with people because I just really love learning about them and what they have to share because we've all got something to share. And I think it's really cool to be able to find out what that is with other people. So I want to wish you guys a really happy Tuesday again. Hope you have a lovely evening and I will talk to you and see you guys really soon. Thanks again.